Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something huge. The world behind Marvel, the biggest cinematic universe out there. And we're using some really fascinating sources, almost like mini documentaries, that peel back those layers.
That's right. And these sources, they really give you two sides of the coin. On one hand, astronomical amounts of money pouring into the MCU. But then on the other side, you've got some pretty significant controversies, even chaos that kind of comes with that level of success. We're going to look at, the huge paydays for the heroes, but also the challenges happening behind the camera.
Yeah, so our mission really is to give you a shortcut, a way to understand the financial side and also the unexpected shakeups that have defined Marvel beyond just what you see on screen. So curtains pulled back. What's first? Often it's the money, right? The sheer scale of it. And you almost have to start with Robert Downey Jr. Our sources call him Marvel's $75 million man. It's pretty incredible how they detail the way he outnegotiated Marvel Studios. It wasn't just asking for a big check. He used his essential role back when the MCU was just starting. The studio needed him. So he basically demanded a piece of the box office profit. That set a whole new precedent for star power versus the studio.
It really did. An amazing example of leverage. And, connecting that to the bigger picture, these sources also rank the top 5 highest paid Marvel stars. They go into detail about what the cast really earned, showing some of Marvel's most expensive contracts. So it wasn't just RDJ. His deal sort of opened the door, right? Other big stars could then demand similar things. It forces the studio to rethink everything, budgets, how they even get talent. It makes you wonder, what's the real cost of a superhero? For the studio, sure, but also for the actors.
Okay, so from those massive paychecks, let's pivot to some of the turbulence.
Yeah.
These sources really highlight the fallout from Jonathan Majors and Kang. They call it a big shakeup for where the MCU is heading. I mean, this wasn't just recasting an actor. It fundamentally messed up their plan for the main villain, forcing a huge story change.
And that's just one piece of it. You also see these legal battles. Remember the Scarlett Johansson versus Marvel battle? She actually sued Disney. Yeah, she argued that releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus at the same time as theaters hurt her earnings because her pay was tied to the box office. That lawsuit was a landmark moment. It really forced studios to look hard at streaming releases and how they pay their actors in this new landscape. It highlighted a real tension there.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot bubbling under the surface.
Yeah.
The sources also talk about this intense pressure, the crunch, those periods of crazy overtime for VFX artists. And there was a lot of silence around it for a while. But artists have started speaking out about really difficult working conditions, saying the system often values speed over their well-being. And sometimes, it even affects how good the effects look on screen.
It does paint a picture of, a system under strain, like a high-pressure pipeline where the artists are really feeling it. And it's not just legal stuff or labor issues. You have moments of pure chaos, like remember the James Gunn firing explained? The sources often link these moments together, suggesting maybe a pattern of reactive decisions, PR crises, signs of a company may be struggling with its own massive scale.
And the sources, they don't shy away from asking tough questions, like, is Marvel losing its way? They talk about a potential multiverse mess, arguing that maybe the storytelling got too complicated, sacrificing clarity for just, more stuff. They also look at the diversity debates and fan divides, how introducing some new characters maybe didn't land well with everyone, and crucially they ask, is MCU fatigue real? Pointing to maybe some lower box office numbers, a sense that audiences might be a little tired.
And what's really interesting is how all this behind-the-scenes stuff, these controversies, directly leads to questions about potential recasts. Like, should they bring back T'Challa? What happens if they drop Kang completely? It just shows how deeply these real-world issues can actually change the story itself, forcing some really hard choices about the future of these characters we care about.
So wrapping this up, it seems like this deep dive reveals a Marvel universe that's just as complex off-screen as it is on. Maybe even more so. It's balancing incredible financial success and amazing movies with some really big challenges like creative, corporate, even human ones.
Which leads to maybe the big question for you, the listener. As all these financial realities and controversies keep playing out behind the scenes, how do you think that's ultimately going to shape the Marvel stories and characters we see in the future? Can the on-screen magic keep overcoming the off-screen drama?
Definitely something to think about next time you're watching.